Trump was viciously attacked by an escalator. When he went to the UN the other day to deliver a rambling speech about how the borders of countries don't extend up into the air and the air is amorphous, it flows. I heard it was an elevator. I heard it was an escalator. A real disgrace took place at the United Nations yesterday. Not one, not two, but three very sinister events. I don't know why. The way this is set up makes it sound like a Danganronpa plot opening. Doesn't this sound like a VN thing? A little bit, you know, the way they with all the bombast, they like assign names to things in ways that comes across a little weird in English. Three sinister events, that's what they're called. I don't know. First, the escalator going up the main speaking floor came to a screeching halt. It stopped on a dime. It's amazing that Melania and I didn't fall forward onto the sharp edges of those steel steps, face first. It was only that we were each holding the handrail tightly, or it would have been a disaster. This was absolutely sabotage, as noted by a days earlier post in the London Times that said UN workers, quote, joked about turning off an escalator. The people that did it should be arrested. So the punchline to this is that, yes, the Secret Service is investigating the UN elevator.
So President Trump pushing the America First agenda on the world stage while also calling out the United Nations for failing to live up to its potential.
Our senior White House correspondent, Peter Doocy, joins us now with the details. Hey, Peter.
Good morning, and a good chunk of President Trump's speech was explaining why he is going it alone, trying to end wars around the world by himself.
7 wars.
And cutting UN delegates out.
The UN is such
Talk about the escalator.
At the same time, they're
prompter that didn't work. And teleprompter.
Here's the quote from the UN. A subsequent investigation.
These are the two things I got from the United Nations. A bad
Man, he looks like shit, dude. Look at him.
escalator and a bad teleprompter.
The United Nations is claiming that a White House videographer
That's it just happened. Did you see it? Did you see it?
White House videographer ran ahead of President Trump to the top. And here's the quote from the UN. A subsequent investigation indicated that the escalator had stopped after a built-in safety mechanism on the comb step was triggered at the top of the escalator. But in the Times of London on Sunday, before President Trump went to the United Nations to speak, unnamed UN staffers were quoted as saying that they might turn off the elevators and the escalators and then tell President Trump that they ran out of money to make it work. But this is a legitimate safety concern, and so the Secret Service is investigating. Back to you.
It's never happened to me before. I do a lot of shopping, go to a lot of malls, go to the second floor where the men's stuff is, you know, because you walk in on the first floor. It never happened to me.
That's great.
Didn't Jesse Waters say that we should bomb the UN building in New York as retaliation for this? He was just fat. Nah, the White House videographer ran up and must have like hit, like they probably stumbled a bit and they hit with their foot on the brush or the comb or whatever. They hit the little latch that turns it off. It's on some escalators. I've seen it before. It's the idea is like if a person stumbles, it stops the escalator, because it kicks the safety in.
And you are obviously very careful with that emergency button at the top of the escalator. But with an escalator, I've been on one that somebody hit the button at the mall. I think at the Garden State Mall in New Jersey, and it does kind of jolt forward.
Right.
It was an attempt on his life.
Somebody is on it. If there was sabotage here, somebody doesn't know that the president and the first lady aren't going to fall down, and that would be a big problem.
Yeah, that would have been
Also,
terrible.
you should secure.
Bosh, this extraordinary level of pussy shit continues to make me less afraid of Republicans. Yeah. Again, it's remember maximal rhetorical satiation, man. This is your attempt on the president's life. Jesus Christ, at least Hitler had like actual assassination attempts directed at him. Same with Mussolini. This is what we're working with. It kind of cuts into the strongman personality a little bit, because I feel like a strongman would not admit that their life was imperiled by a escalator suddenly stopping. I feel like that kind of contrasts the strongman bit a little bit.
The button, if you have the leader of the free world on.
Yeah, I don't buy that.
Peter, thanks so much.
Is it a Coincidence? I mean, you had the teleprompter go down. Yeah, the escalator stop. Katie Pavlich said in the press room when they were listening to the speech, when the president started talking, the volume went down significantly.
There's a couple of things that the president brought up I thought was so great. He said the climate change hoax. All you people putting all this money into green energy, enough with the windmills. I love that North Sea, start drilling on it. Also, while calling him out and challenging people to stop wasting money on this.
That's right.
You heard Mike.
Yeah.
All right, Caroline, it does appear to be sabotage with the escalator and the teleprompter. What is the White House going to do about that?
Well, Jesse, that's definitely what it appears to be to me, and that's why I put out a statement earlier. There was some concerning reporting over the weekend from the London Times, as you pointed out, that UN...
She had work done? Dude, keep in mind, she's literally like 27 years old or something. It's crazy. This is with all the makeup on, too. The Mar-a-Lago face takes all of them. It's like there's a face hugger running around the place.
Globalist staffers were basically plotting to set up the president of the United States. And first it was the escalator, then it was the teleprompter, and then Katie Pavlich from Town Hall, who we offered a seat in the press pool to cover the president's historic speech today, noticed that the audio inside of the room was much lower and different for the president of the United States than the previous speaker. So when you put...
Again, you really just cannot pull strongman shit like this when everyone thinks you're a joke and nobody takes you seriously. It's worth remembering that as much as our own corporations have bent the knee to Trump, and I mean they have quite aggressively as well. No, the world does not take Trump seriously at all. It really gets in the way of the whole being a dictator thing in a globalist economy, right? Like to contrast, right? Putin is much more popular with his people, much more effective at keeping dissenters quiet, and in the areas of the world where Putin reigns, he is not really well loved, but he is well feared, right? Like if you go into former Soviets, you go to Georgia, you go into Belarus or whatever. A lot of people hate Putin, but they are scared of him. So to that extent, at least, he's succeeding. This does not work with Trump, especially considering the fact that the economic reach of the United States is global, unlike Russia, mostly limited to their neighborhood,
all of this together, it doesn't look like a coincidence to me. And I know that we have people, including the United States Secret Service, who are looking into this to try to get to the bottom of it. And if we find that these were UN staffers who were purposefully trying to literally trip up the president and the first lady of the United States, well, there better be accountability for those people. And I will personally see to it, Jesse.
Good.
Personally, as the press woman for the White House? How are you? They all say this shit, man. Every member of the Trump administration, none of them have an actual job, so all of them pretend that they're the guy. Like they all act like they're part of this interchangeable team, Oh yeah, man, the press secretary is going to personally oversee the prosecution of those UN employees. I'm sure. They all want to be influencers. They do. None of them even respect the bounds of the job they were given. This is like an element where the desire for them all to be content creators overwhelms the fascist impulse, because fascists they make their lives like sublimate to the state, right? So to a fascist, right, even one in a very high position of power like a presidential cabinet, they're still like rigidly adhered to the roles and responsibilities that they have. Like they serve as a tool of the state. The idea, like, that is their responsibility. You saw this pretty often in Hitler's cabinet, didn't you? Like there were times that people overreached and were punished for it. Not towards the later years, because by then everyone kind of knew that if you f***ed up, you were going to be shot. But more in the earlier years, there was like a very rigid understanding of what people's roles are. But here, everyone's just crowding for the camera. Everyone's desperate to be the center of attention, She's a stand-in for Pam Bondi. They do look similar enough. Pam Bondi has turned out to be like a big disappointment for the administration. People really did not like her hate speech isn't free speech way of trying to say she'll go after people for criticizing Charlie Kirk. People also just generally don't like her because she's a woman and she comes across as a little bit delicate in a way that, to her credit, Carolyn Levitt does not. Carolyn Levitt, I keep saying this, I know I repeat myself a lot, but I think Carolyn Levitt is a lot smarter and more dangerous than she comes across. Pam Bondi is weak, though. I don't get that feeling from her. Yeah, very, very ambitious. Wait, they're different people. You guys are racist against white blonde women. That being said, the Mar-a-Lago face coming for everyone, they do make it difficult to tell them apart. I will acknowledge that. Secret Service investigating. Isn't that fun? Not that it's going to lead to anything, but, you know, I do think it's pretty embarrassing. Here's Jesse Waters, also desperate for attention from the camera.
What's going on with the escalator? What do you think?
Yeah, they sabotaged them.
Yeah.
And they could have hurt the First Lady.
Yeah.
Trump would have fallen and he would have gotten back up. But, you know.
They would have blamed it on his rhetoric.
And then they sabotaged the teleprompter.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an insurrection. And what we need to do is either leave the UN or we need to bomb it. It is in New York, though, right?
Yeah,
there could be some fallout there.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
I agree. He is really funny. He's like one of the most evil men alive. He is very funny, though. He's very unserious. Words mean things, Jesse. They don't agree with that. They do not believe that. The Trump admin is fucking up so badly, the Japanese right-wing PM denounced both Russia and Israel as imperialist forces at the UN. In the long arc of history, we're all going to look back on this era and go, at least the rest of the world finally woke up to how fucking awful the United States is. I don't know. Maybe. That's copium.